You see the packed stadiums, right? The global superstars, the billionaire owners celebrating. It looks like the perfect business. But what if I told you that behind all that glamour, a lot of these top-tier clubs are actually set up to lose money? Seriously, let's dig into why that is. So, that leads us to this really fascinating question. Why would any smart investor, any billionaire pour all that cash into something that's basically a financial black hole on paper? Doesn't make sense, does it? Well, to figure this out, we've got to look past the balance sheets and think about what a football club really is. Okay, so let's jump into our first section here. We're going beyond the balance sheet. Because for so many people, a football club isn't just a business. No way. It's a cultural institution, right? It's a source of pride for the whole community, a symbol of who they are.
And that idea, sport, bringing people together, it's kind of like that classic Olympic spirit. It's a really powerful thing. And that is what pushes fans to pour their hearts into their teams, and it's what pushes owners to pour in their fortunes, even when they know they're not going to see a dime of it back. But look, idealism is great, but it doesn't pay the bills. So now we're moving into section 2, and we're going to switch gears from the philosophy to the cold, hard cash. And when you look at the actual numbers, oh man, a very, very different picture starts to emerge.
I mean, think about it. These top European clubs are absolute cash machines. They're pulling in billions from TV rights, sponsorships, ticket sales, you name it. But a really fascinating study found that where all that money goes, well, it completely defies all normal business logic.
And this isn't just some theory, by the way. The evidence comes from this huge 10-year study of 17 of Europe's biggest clubs. We're talking giants like Juventus and Borussia Dortmund. So yeah, this is a serious deep dive right into the financial heart of the game.
So you're probably wondering, how did the researchers even figure this out? Well, moving into section 3, we see they use this really cool tool. It's not your standard profit and loss sheet. It let them slice up the club's entire financial pie and see exactly where every single piece was going. It's called a value-added statement, and this thing is the key to the whole puzzle. Why? Because it doesn't just give you a final number like profit or loss. Nope. It follows every single euro the club makes from start to finish and shows you the entire journey of that cash. It reveals who really gets rich off the wealth the club creates.
So who gets a piece of this pie? Let's break it down. First up, you've got the athletes. They get their salaries and wages. Then money goes to the club's assets, keeping the stadium and training grounds up and running. After that, the lenders get their cut from interest on any debt. Then, of course, the government takes its share in taxes. And then, finally, whatever's left, and that's a big if, goes to the shareholders, the owners. See who's at the very end of the line?
All right, get ready for this. We're in section 4, and this is the big reveal. After crunching 10 years of data from all those clubs, what the researchers found about how that wealth gets divvied up, it's pretty shocking. Just look at this. This chart tells you everything. A massive 85%, 85 of all the value a club creates goes directly to the players, straight into their pockets. The rest goes to assets and paying off debt. And the shareholders? The actual owners who fronted all the money, they get a negative 22.6% return. That's just staggering.
Yeah, let's just focus on that number for a second. Negative 22.6%. This is the key takeaway right here. This isn't wealth distribution to the owners. It's a huge wealth transfer from the owners. Their investment is basically a subsidy. It's just there to pay the massive player salaries and keep the team competitive. They are literally paying for the privilege of owning the club. And that brings us full circle, right back to where we started in section 5. We've got the hard data now. We know that financially these are just terrible investments. So why in the world would anyone do it? Well, the answer is pretty simple. The returns aren't about money. They're emotional. They're social. Owners are in it for the prestige, right? The fame that comes with owning a legendary club. For some, it's the thrill of living out a childhood fantasy. For others, it's the business connections. But really, above all else, it comes down to one single thing: winning.
And this whole crazy financial model is really driven by a huge structural difference between European and American sports. See, in Europe, you have open leagues. The constant threat of being relegated, sent down to a lower division, it creates this insane arms race. Owners have to spend and spend and spend on players just to survive. But in America's closed leagues, there's no relegation. The pressure's off. So the focus is totally different. It's all about maximizing profit for everyone. Okay, so let's bring this all together in our final section and get to the real bottom line. What this research shows us is a completely unique economic model where our whole idea of value gets flipped completely on its head.
I mean, this table just lays it all out, doesn't it? The totally bizarre economics of European football. Think about it. In pretty much any other business, the people with the capital, the investors, get the biggest share of the wealth. But here, it's the labor, the players on the field, who get almost all of it. It's a wild exception to the rules of modern capitalism.
So when you boil it all down, the goal isn't profit, it's just not. For these clubs, making money is just a way to achieve the real goal, and that ultimate goal is winning trophies. The best case scenario for most of these owners isn't making a huge return on their investment. It's just hoping to break even while they chase that glory on the pitch.
And that leaves us with a pretty big question to think about, doesn't it? We have this multi-billion-dollar industry that's not fueled by profit, but by pure passion, by prestige, and by the super deep pockets of its owners. And as the money involved just keeps getting bigger and bigger, you really have to ask yourself, what is the true price of glory? And is a business model that's built on passion instead of profit really sustainable in the long run?